It was 30 years ago today that I gave this Frankie Yankovic Columbia 78 to my grandfather, Carl Serio. 30 years ago on Valentine's Day, I had gone over to Jim Seelig's house to play some Atari video games, and we actually had a lot of fun. Then from there I headed over to, with my parents, over to Mary Rose Serio and Carl Serio's house. And this 78 record was purchased by me and my dad. So a couple of months earlier. I had 2 copies, and I gave the other copy to Carl, and I wrapped it all up in a present. When we got to Nana's house, we went to the kitchen, which is to the left. And by the way, the house is on Burleigh Street in Milwaukee. We went over to the kitchen, and Carl, my grandfather, opened up the package and found this 78 record. And when he received it, he said to me and to my father, "I already have this record." So after a few minutes, we went down in the basement, and we played this tune on it and put it on the jukebox. And while the jukebox was playing the song, my grandfather said, "Oh, she's cracking up everything, the way she sings." And at the time, when I was 10 years old, I thought he was referring to the melody on the record. But years later, I learned that he was referring to my grandmother, Mary Serio. And anyway, this is the recording, among other recordings, that was played on the jukebox 30 years ago on Valentine's Day. And the reason we went over there is because for several weeks before that, my Italian grandfather, was very, very sick. He's been in the hospital a long, long time, and my dad told me that he just finally got better. And so we went over to his house on Valentine's Day 30 years ago, and we played this recording by Frankie Yankovic Yanks. It's Cocktail Waltz. Oh, she's cracking up everything, the way she sings. Other tunes that we played on the jukebox by Frankie Yankovic and his Yanks were Omar Reed's Polka, Clink Clink Polka, Suter's Waltz by the Deutschmeisters. I think I had discovered Be Mine Polka on that day, and Be Happy Polka on that day as well. And we were talking about the way that Carl hated me for putting different records on the jukebox. I would go over to a stack of records in the basement, and I would go and find some records to play on the jukebox of different kinds. And he didn't like it that I would go through them and put one or this one on the jukebox, and he didn't like it at all. And he had a conversation between. He had talked to my dad, and I recall him saying that that's what he did the last time. He was referring to me. And I think when Suter's Waltz was being played on the jukebox, I went over to the table and started tapping on it because I liking the clarinet solo that was in the Suter's Waltz by Six-Bit Dutchman. And I think when I went over there and did that, Carlos told me to stop it or get away from there. Actually, I had a few Frankie Yankovic records that I bought from that store in Milwaukee a few months ago. I bring them over to his house. And I do recall that there was a long conversation going on between my father and Carl, and that's pretty much whatever actually happened on that day. Oh, by the way, I think there was a song, one of the last songs that we played on the jukebox was My Blue Heaven by Ken Griffin. Unfortunately, this tape does not exist anymore, and the memories is all I have. And as of the day that I load this video, will be 30 years to the day that actually happened.